Hello, welcome to the program. We have a very, very, very important show planned for you today. Why so very important? Because it just may save your life. Please welcome our guest, Shawnee Haskell, to the program. Welcome, Shawnee.
Thank you, Lana Kay. I'm happy to be here.
Shawnee is a self-defense expert. She owns Northern Kentucky Self-Defense, and she also holds a second degree in black belt karate. So I think those are some pretty impressive credentials, Shawnee.
Thank you so much.
But what I'm thinking about is, we're so happy to have you with us. What I'm thinking about is, how did you become interested in self-defense?
Well, I turned 30 years old, and I began wanting something different in my life. So I went to a martial arts school, the Masters Martial Arts Academy, and I started studying with Sensei Steve Napier. And I fell in love with the martial arts, and I wanted to be safe. I was very afraid of being attacked. So I wanted to learn how to be safe with self-defense. And as I grew in my karate career, I wanted to start teaching other people how to prepare themselves for an attack.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So then you wanted to help others. Okay, but the focus of today's show will be on prevention. How to prevent an attack, or if an attack should take place, what to do quickly. You know, Shawnee won't get physical today. We'll talk about that more toward the end of the show. So, Shawnee, let's explore the following, because number one on the list is follow your intuition. And as I told Shawnee, I always prepare for these shows, and I read a tremendous book by Gavin DeBecker, and it is called The Gift of Fear. And what it really is, replace fear with the gift of intuition. And what Mr. DeBecker found out is that in many of the victims that he counseled after the attack, a huge percentage of them said that they felt either apprehensive, Shawnee, wary, uncomfortable at the beginning of the encounter, but they just fluffed it off. They just dismissed it because the perpetrator appeared so nice and so friendly, and they felt embarrassed to really be rude and stop the encounter.
Right. Well,
and much to their much in retrospect, how they wish they would have.
right. A lot of times we ignore our instinct to danger, and it's there. It's that, I call it the spidey sense just because I like Spider-Man. But I call it that spidey sense where you start feeling that something is amiss, and you have to trust that instinct. You always have to be aware of that. And if you scream at somebody, what do you want from me? You know, at least you're safe.
Right.
You know?
Right.
At least you're safe.
Okay, so we are always thinking of this, you know, this can't happen to me. This is probably not why am I feeling this way? So we want to act on it.
Absolutely.
If it feels wrong, there's probably something wrong. Let me show you a good example. Now, we're going to focus on a picture for a moment, on a photograph. And some of you may recognize him, but for those who don't, you're going to see he's very attractive. He's very educated, highly intelligent, and most importantly, very charming. So many of you will recognize this man. And honestly, if you were single and at a cocktail party and he began speaking with you, you would probably think your lucky boat had come in, because he really does look attractive and charming. The problem is he is Ted Bundy, and he was one of the most prolific, twisted serial killers that in America's history. So looks can be deceiving, and Ted had a ploy that he would either wear his arm in a cast, or he had a fake sling that he would put on, and then he would lure his victims. He would approach attractive young women and ask them could they either help him with these packages or with his groceries or whatever, and as they bent to go in the back seat of his car with the packages or groceries, he
Right.
would hit them with the crowbar shove them in, slam the door, drive them to another location where, Shawnee, they experienced unspeakable torture
Horrific.
and horrific acts before their death. So,
Right.
Shawnee, help us with, you know, we always think that perpetrator is going to be a big burly tattooed guy, and that guy may come over and help us escape somebody like Ted Bundy.
Right.
So help us with, you know, even though someone seems so attractive and charming, if, you know, we, number one, I guess we don't want to get that close to the vehicle.
No, you don't want to get that close to the vehicle. A lot of times we think of a perpetrator, as you said, with, you know, big burly guy with tattoos. But you have to remember that an attacker can look like anyone. It can look like anyone. So you want to be aware of that. We're also taught as a society to be very polite.
Exactly.
All right, we're taught to be very polite, which is great, but I still want you to kind of keep that, oh, I don't know about this, you know, and if you do get that intuition, that spidey sense that something's wrong, ask someone else to help you help this person.
Exactly. I mean, it's not up to us to help this, I mean, you know, so we walk on by, I can't help you right now.
Right.
I think we should keep number one in our mind, Shawnee, about, you know, we have to stay safe at all costs.
Absolutely.
And you have to keep thinking of this because no one ever feels like it can happen to them.
Right. No one ever feels like it can happen to them.
Right.
Many times I worked at Women Helping Women of Hamilton County, and I would go to the hospital with many rape victims to comfort them, to help them, to be with them. And most of them said, I just never thought that this would happen to me.
Right. They could never have dreamed that
That's
day
right.
what lay in store for them. Okay, Shawnee, now, I believe from watching a few episodes of 48 Hours, Dateline, Unsolved Mysteries, that I think violence has probably escalated in our society.
I would agree with that.
It just seems like it's a much more violent world. So, Shawnee, how can we empower ourselves to act quickly? I mean, the perpetrator has they are looking for a victim.
They are.
Okay, so then how can we get it up quickly to either, you know, to address the situation?
Right. The thing is that when you're attacked, I want you to breathe. And any way that you can do that, if you have to scream, if you have to kick, if you have to talk, you know, just put up your hands and talk. I'm sorry, I'm Shawnee Haskell. I have a dog and a cat, and my parents love me. You know, just talking sometimes makes them feel like you're a person instead of an object.
Right.
Because that's the way that they want to think of you. They want to think of you as an object that they
Right.
can hurt.
Personalize it.
Right.
Personalize the
But
thing.
you want to personalize yourself to them and make sure that you're breathing so that you can think.
Sure.
So
Okay.
that you can think.
Okay, let's do one more case, Shawnee, that I want you to speak with us about. This, you know, I just read this in People magazine. Let's focus in on Sherry Arnold from Sydney, Montana. She was a beloved teacher, a loving mother. All the kids wanted to get Miss Arnold to teach them math. She stayed after school and tutored. She was just a wonderful person by all accounts. Well, Miss Arnold left one day, Shawnee, for her morning run, and she got up before daylight every day. She did this. She laced up her sneakers, brushed her teeth, and went for her 3.5-mile run. And she ran along a remote, it was called a prairie truck road, sort of a back through the prairie, no houses around a remote area, 3.5 miles, and returned home. Well, she left, and this morning she didn't come back home. And they never have found her body. They found one gym shoe, and she has been, you know, missing, and they have charged 2 men. Two
Right.
drifters that happened to be in Sydney, Montana at this time, so they've charged them. So what could Sherry have done to be safer that morning, Shawnee?
Well, a lot of attacks occur early in the morning, between 3 and 5, 3 and 6 in the morning. So she could have gotten up a little bit later, or maybe gone running a little bit later after school. That might have been a really good idea. She also, you said it was a remote area,
Yes.
so there were no people around. So even if she was screaming for help, there was no one to hear her. And then the third thing that she could have done is vary your routine. She could have varied her routine so that she wasn't running at the same time every day, at the same place every day.
She would almost be at that, at some point there every day, that someone could have known, and they did know.
Right.
Obviously, they have been watching her. So those three things could have kept her much safer. See, that's the whole thing. In retrospect, if she'd only had one more morning, so we have to be thinking about this all the time.
Right,
Vary my
absolutely.
route. Don't go out, don't go where there's no one to, no one can hear me.
Right.
And keep all of this in the top of our mind, at all times, because no one thinks it can happen to them. And even the police chiefs, it's a shock. It is not something we ever expected to happen to us here in our little town. So here he's even saying, this can't happen
Didn't
to
expect
us, to her, the beloved teacher, and the whole town was heartsick over it. So thank you, Shawnee. Those three
Absolutely.
points we will be remembering. Shawnee, Shawnee, with your self-defense, this is sort of a tricky one. With your self-defense, black belt, and your background behind you, could you ever feel personally threatened? And I ask you this because I saw an interview with a police person.
Mm-hmm.
She was a policewoman, and she did training and all of this, and yet she was attacked and she froze.
Absolutely.
So it even happened to her, and she was just so shocked that element of surprise and, took her by surprise. So give me your take on, could this happen to you?
Absolutely, it could happen to me. It can happen to anybody. You have to be aware of your surroundings.
Well, if it happens to us, I want to be with you. I want to be with Shawnee.
I think I can defend myself pretty well. But that element of surprise, if they come up from behind me,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to throw me off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I try and prepare myself for that, and I try and prepare my students in my class for that. So if somebody comes up behind you, what can you do?
Mhm.
If you can think of nothing else, just throwing an elbow back
Mm-hmm.
will help.
Okay.
Kicking and screaming. There was a little girl that was just on the news. Did anybody see that? I hope
Oh,
you did
I-
out there.
I did, and her name was Brittany Baxter.
Yeah, Brittany Baxter. And she
Atlanta,
was
Georgia.
right in Atlanta, Georgia, and this man came up and he grabbed her and she kicked and she screamed and she hit and
She wiggled.
she wiggled and she got away. He put her
dropped
down
He dropped her.
and he walked out of the store and they
At a
caught him
Walmart.
at a
Atlanta.
Walmart. Absolutely. If nothing else, if you can think of nothing else, kick, scream, wiggle, do all the stuff that she
She had
did.
learned that at school. So this
Absolutely.
is great. They are really training the children now. So Shawnee has a statistic she wants to share with us about people that fight back.
Oh, yes. 85% of people who fight back get away.
It's amazing.
That's pretty good odds. So I want you to fight. If you get trapped in that, and like I said, throwing up your hands and talking can get you thinking, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Can I hit him in the face? Can I kick him in the groin? Can I kick him in the knee?
And we're breathing all this time.
And we're
He loves
breathing
to
the
breathe.
entire time, because if you freeze and you stop breathing, you're going to pass out.
Okay, Shawnee, help us with this, because here has always been, well, I try to imagine these things, hopefully my imagination will fail me. But Shawnee, I always feel like we'll make the perpetrator madder, and maybe we can get out of this. So is there,
Right.
but then you're telling the statistics say go for it.
The statistics say go for it. There are all kinds of different targets that you want to hit. The eyes are a really good target. The throat is a really good target. The stomach and the groin is a really good target. So if you can hit any of those targets, the perpetrator is going to think twice about running after you.
Okay, good. Good to know.
All right.
And Shawnee, you have hit on something else as we were talking a little bit before the show. They have the element of surprise, and you even said, even
Right.
for me, that surprise could be a little shocking. Okay, and you want us to think of, not of ourselves particularly if we decide to fight back, but what?
I want you to think of your loved ones. If you have to fight back, I want you to think of your children, of your spouses, of your partners, of your friends and your family, because we're so less likely to fight for ourselves. Do whatever you want to do to me, just don't hurt my kids, don't hurt my family members, don't hurt my friends. But if they hurt you and take you away from your family and friends, they're
They
hurting
won.
them.
That's right.
They're hurting those family and friends that you're worried about. So I want you to think of them first and fight for them.
Oh, that is so excellent. Great advice, Shawnee.
Yeah.
Okay, we as women, we do for everybody else, so why shouldn't we fight for everybody else?
That's
Okay.
right.
Now, Shawnee, we're pretty sure someone is following us, and it's twilight, and they're getting closer and
Mhm.
closer. And do we begin running? I know a lot of times we want to say this isn't happening, but it's happening. We realize
Right.
it's really happening. I mean, shall we run, or shall we turn and let them know? What do you want?
Absolutely.
Are we running, or are we turning and confronting it?
Either one of those things will work.
Okay, we're just getting
Either
away.
one of those things
We're
will
getting
work.
away.
If you can scream at them in some way, even if you have to cuss, and I know that we're taught as a society not to cuss, but even if you have to cuss at them, what the beep do you want?
We're not
It's-
being ladylike now. We could be in
Now-
serious trouble.
Now it's time to turn into that warrior woman, that warrior man, that warrior.
I understand.
And turn around and say, what do you want? Or you can run to a store, if there's a store that's open, run to people.
Mhm.
If you can't run, absolutely just go as fast as you can. There are
Mhm.
some people that are older in our society, they can't run. I encourage them to carry an umbrella,
Mhm.
so that
Okay.
if that person comes up to them, if you get the ones with the push button, it'll pop up in their face. It might even hit them in the nose,
Just to give you that
just to
break,
give you that break so that you can get away and you can scream fire. Please don't scream help.
Oh, that is, yes, go into that, Shawnee, because
Right.
they won't help you if you say help.
No one will help you if you
Statistics
say
show.
help, right? A lot of times people don't want to go down to the police station and make a police report. A lot of times people don't want to get involved because they're afraid for their own safety, so they won't help you. What you need to do is scream fire, because everybody wants to help in a fire.
Okay.
Everyone wants to help, and if they get angry after they find out there's no
There's no-
fire,
At least you're alive.
at least
and
you're
safe
alive.
and
That's
safe.
right.
That's so good.
That's right.
Shawnee, you have some tips. Now, pretty much, I've led the show, but I want Shawnee to tell us some important points that she has brought with her today.
Okay.
Just some things that we maybe haven't thought about.
Well, one of the first things that I want you to remember is to be aware of your surroundings. Make sure that you know who's around you. When you're walking out to the parking lot, when you're walking in a parking garage, when you're walking to the bathroom, I want you to be aware of who's around you at all times.
May I say something right here?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to ask you, we're at the mall, and it's dark, and we're coming to our car, and someone pulls up, and they have the weapon, and they say, "Get in." Do we ever get in, Shawnee?
No, throw
Is
the,
there-
throw the
never
groceries at them.
do something, but
Do
do we
something.
ever get in the vehicle?
You should never get into a vehicle, ever. You should never get into a vehicle and move to a second location. Scream, blow a whistle, do whatever you can.
Run.
Run,
Just run and
call for, call fire.
fire.
Fire,
anything, but don't
anything.
ever, under any circumstances,
Don't
don't
go
ever
to the second
get into
location.
the vehicle.
Right, don't get into the vehicle. If you can run in the opposite direction that the vehicle's pointing,
Okay.
that's a great way to get out of the way
Okay.
and run across through the cars.
Okay.
Is a
And
great
Shawnee,
way.
maybe it's good to think of these things before they happen, like if anyone ever approaches me with the
Absolutely.
gun, they have the weapon, I'm never getting in.
Well, you have
And
to have a plan.
Yes,
You have to have a plan to be safe. Just like you have to have a plan for a fire in your house,
sure.
just like you have to have a plan when you go to teach school, you have to have a plan to be safe.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent, Shawnee.
Another thing that I see a lot of times is people texting while they're walking along. They're not paying any attention to anyone around them.
Mhm.
So somebody can grab you right then and there
Mhm.
while you're texting. Please wait for it till you're alone, or till you're in a restaurant, or where you're around other people, because
Right.
it does make you a victim.
Great advice.
Again, if someone approaches your car, you don't want to roll down the window or all the way.
Okay.
You want to, maybe a sliver, and ask them, what they want. But always have that car on
Always be ready to accelerate.
to accelerate
to
or
get
or
out.
get out of there. There was a story of a woman in Cincinnati who was in one of the parking garages, and a man approached the car, and she had the car on, but he kept punching the window and she was screaming, but she could have easily just backed out. She was just panicked, and I understand that, but he finally got through the window, punched her in the face and grabbed her purse on the other side. That's all he wanted. If he wants your purse, give him your purse.
Sure,
Give him your purse. You can
Sure.
replace everything in that purse.
sure.
You can close down your, I know it's a bother, I know it's a pain, but you can do that. You want to stay safe.
That is so good. Shawnee, you know what, we're running out of time.
Okay.
And we're just so grateful that you came today with all of her expertise and we just got invaluable information that I know I'm going to keep thinking about, and I hope that you will too. Shawnee's contact information will appear at the end of the show. You can host a party with Shawnee for 5 people and up. She will come and teach you self-defense and go much further than we could today.
Right.
Because Shawnee can show you quick physical moves to get out of the situation.
What I teach is really easy to use self-defense techniques that require little to no strength. So I can teach you how to get away, as well as all these great safety tips that I have.
And she also teaches classes throughout the year, and as I said, her contact information will appear at the end of the show. Again, thank you so much. We have learned so much today. And as always, I'm so glad you were with us. Be happy and keep smiling, and above all, stay safe. I'll see you soon.